Hey, everybody, welcome. I have Liz LaVallee on today. Liz is the head of e-commerce for a company you're probably aware of called Vermont Teddy Bear. They also have some other brands, including Pajama, Graham, and some other, I think, some female clothing lines as well. And Liz has spoken at some of our past conferences, and I wanted to take an opportunity to catch back up with Liz and talk about kind of Amazon and where it's at today, and how her business has seen the kind of growth that it's seen over the last number of years, and kind of what sets them apart from the people who have struggled to find that growth. So, hey, Liz, how are you? Thanks for joining.
Great. Happy to be reconnecting for Resonate follow-up. I believe
Yeah.
it was over a year ago that we were in Atlanta.
The one question I want to ask you to kind of start this is like, um, just for people who don't know the whole story, right? Most people think automatically Vermont Teddy Bear, they think catalog company. So give everybody kind of this super high level, just, real quick of like Vermont Teddy Bear and how you guys really transitioned from being a catalog company into like a e-commerce company.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so you're exactly right. Vermont Teddy Bear is a brand that definitely kind of grew out of a lot of traditional media. Um, been around since 1981. We were a really early adopter of e-commerce, though, in terms of having pretty early on our Yahoo store website and starting with e-commerce. But in terms of our marketing channels, most of our growth in the initial part of the company, the years of the company, was through things like catalog and radio and TV. And we did a lot of demand generation type of marketing, I would say. We weren't doing demand capture like search engine marketing as much. Most of our revenue came from going out there with a catalog and putting it in front of people, going out there with a TV ad or on the radio and saying, hey guys, have you thought of what you're going to get your wife for Valentine's Day this year? We have a really awesome teddy bear. You probably hadn't thought of that yet. So it was like complete putting
Direct
some, yeah,
response,
yeah,
old
direct
school.
response, old
Yeah.
school direct response. Yeah. And
Old
yeah.
school, like, a couple years ago.
Yeah, yeah, that's how quickly things change, but not really, and kind of giving them an idea of something that they weren't already thinking of. They weren't searching for teddy bears. They knew that they needed to get something for her for Valentine's Day, so we kind of put that idea out there. But I probably in around 2010, we started dabbling with listing some products on Amazon, and it was something we were really nervous of doing because we were spending so much on ad dollars doing this demand generation that we didn't want to start selling on Amazon and have it be completely cannibalistic to our own channels and just have
Right.
our branded search traffic go there and buy it. We'd rather keep them on in our own channel. But what we kind of discovered over the years that was 10 years ago, we've built a completely separate Amazon business. It's been hugely incremental to our core business. Our core business hasn't suffered as a result of us selling on Amazon. And now we kind of have like two types of marketing. We still do have a lot of traditional demand generation. Maybe it's not as much catalog or TV and more Facebook and Google and things like that, but we still have a lot of demand generation that we're doing to our own website. And then we have this whole other channel that's been more about demand capture and trying to take what we know about producing really high quality product and teddy bears that people love from age 0 to 100, and optimizing them for teddy bear search terms on Amazon and getting Amazon badges and bestseller ranking and all of that for some really, really big search terms and getting our product out there that way.
So we could go into some of your tactics, but I don't want to go into those today because you guys do some pretty cool stuff. But one of the things that I think you guys do that is different, I'll call it, it's a best practice, but you guys implement it into a daily practice, is like this concept of always be testing, right? And it's something you learn in like the web world, but you guys do it in the Amazon world. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording. I thought it'd be great for you to kind of share with everybody how do you guys look at an opportunity and then determine whether that opportunity is something you need to add to your mix. Now, that opportunity could be a product, it could be a keyword, it could be a new advertising channel, it could be a new brand, right? So and I think this general approach that you guys have developed at your company is part of what's made you successful, and I think would be really great to share with people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So one of our mantras at Vermont Teddy Bear is fail fast, fail cheap. Um, so we definitely have that mindset, and we're also a pretty energetic, scrappy group of people. You know, a lot of people think of us like, oh, we're this big brand, but we are pretty scrappy and like pull our sleeves up kind of a thing. We don't necessarily go out and try new things with big budgets. We're always thinking, how could we test something? How could we fail fast, fail cheap? How could we test this in the way that we're going to learn the quickest and do it with the least amount of damage, at least amount of expense, the least amount of time and investment. So that's kind of just how we approach everything. And so I think with whether it's e-commerce off of Amazon or on Amazon, there's new stuff coming out that you could try every single day. I mean, in every aspect of Amazon, whether it's your fulfillment methods and you want to try on-site or SFP, or it's all of the new hundreds of new things that have come out in the world of Amazon advertising in the last 12 to 18 months.
Right.
So we're definitely a group that's like, we want to try it all. So I think some of the rigor that we have behind that is one, recognizing that it is a test and there's a good chance that something new, some new feature, it might not work for you. So don't fall in love with it. If
Right.
it's a new product, don't fall in love with your new product. Don't fall in love with your new brand. It's hard not to, but be ready to call a spade a spade. If that didn't work for you, that's okay. And if you're hearing from another seller, it's working great for them, that's okay. That doesn't mean that you did something wrong or they're lying or something like that, or that it's just because different things work for different brands.
So I heard an interesting podcast I was listening to on website testing, and I think it applies to testing in general. They were just talking about it with website testing, and what they said was the control always wins unless the variant can prove that it beats the control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what most people have, and the way you approach it differently than how most people approach it, is they get emotional about the variant that they're trying to test against. So they want to go test video ads. They want to make video ads work. They go out and produce a video ad and they try to do it. And they maybe aren't looking at the right metric. They're not looking at the right trigger to figure out how to measure the success. And therefore, if they see or believe that there's any level of marginal success, they accept it and they take it and they call it a win and they move forward. I think one of the things that, and just for, I guess, clarity purposes, I've had the privilege of being a guest out in Burlington. I've seen the Vermont Teddy Bear headquarters. I've spoken to your executive team and in sharing about kind of where e-commerce is going. And your team has shared a lot of detail with me. So I know this about your operation. You guys are very number metric driven. I mean, every conversation we had, you were pulling up a spreadsheet. You had very specific data points that you were looking at. You had very specific goals in mind that you were trying to accomplish. And when you didn't accomplish those goals, you stopped and you moved on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, I think that's that's where a lot of people fail. And, I think where people listening to this are going to automatically say, and they're going to say, but I'm not Vermont Teddy Bear. Like, Vermont Teddy Bear is huge. You don't have, I mean, you've got a larger e-commerce team, but you don't have a gigantic e-commerce team.
No, we're pretty small. And also when you think of the fact that, that team isn't, that we have 4 brands and that each have an Amazon presence, and where maybe Amazon is 30 to 50% of the business, and then each has an e-commerce presence as well, with our own website and our own channels and all the other advertising. So we are doing a lot with a small number of people. And yeah, we're very data driven. So we just try and make sure that we're making those decisions based on the numbers, and that can be hard because, like you said, like people want the variant to win. You're excited about something that's new that you're trying out, and it can be hard to admit that it didn't work, but try and make that call based on any data that you can, any solid data that you can get out of your test.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
and I think, yeah.
I know in talking to you and Jason, who you guys run the e-commerce together, if I cannot have a data conversation with you, you're not interested in having the conversation, right? Like you'll talk about it theoretically, but you want to know the data behind it that drives it. And I think and we always hear talk about data-driven decisions and ASIN level strategies and those types of things. And I think you guys live it, and it's been a big reason that's propelled your growth. Part of your growth has been launching new brands. So I'd love you to share whatever you're comfortable sharing in terms of like, what have you learned about launching new brands that may be different today than they were a year or two ago? Or like, what's the same today of like, well, if you just do this right, it doesn't matter because this is the right way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I think is the same is actually something that, Jeff, I think I first heard this from you maybe 4 years ago at a conference. The first time I ever heard you speak, which was in
I'll take
Orlando,
credit for it.
Yes. And it's a question that whenever my head's swirling and I'm going a mile a minute trying to figure out what might be going not right with a product, or why something isn't selling to what we had forecasted, I try and like center myself and go back to this really simple question of, is it a traffic problem or is it a conversion problem? And I'd say that that's something that is a basic question. It sounds really simple, but it worked 5 years ago, to help you understand what was going on with your product on Amazon, and it still works very much so today. Maybe what's changed is, once you identify whether you have a traffic problem or a conversion problem, the number of things that you can do about it today are maybe there's 300 things, a list of
Right.
300 things in each of those categories that you can do now, whereas maybe 5 years ago there was a list of 40 things in each of those categories that you could do, just because advertising has gotten much more complex versus where it was, and Amazon in general has got a lot more features now for
Sure.
sellers to be playing around with. With
And with the
in,
catalog size that you guys have,
yeah.
speak a little bit to how you can't pull the same trigger for every product to make them all move. So how do you kind of, okay, so you identify a problem, you identify traffic or conversion, then how do you kind of identify which of your levers you're going to pull to kind of make that product move? Or maybe you're even making the decision to kill the product, right?
Yep. Yeah. So sometimes you go down this path, and it's like a triage path or something like that. And sometimes that's your ultimate conclusion. There's nothing that's going to help this product. We have to call a loser when we see a loser. But yeah, in general, we have a really big catalog, as you mentioned. So every product, we start our year off or the season off, maybe it's the Q4 season, with a forecast for every single product. So we know going in, and some of it's based on historicals, and if it's a new product, it's based off of your best guess based on comparative things that you've done before. But so we know, these are our products that we're trying to sell 1,000 units of, and these are the products that we're trying to sell 100 units of. So we generally have like a budget allocated across based on that forecast. And then that's what we're looking at. We're looking at, okay, how is that forecast? If it's supposed to hit that forecast for the quarter, and we're 2 weeks in, it's October 12th, and we've only sold 12 units, it's not pacing to that forecast, we have a problem. And so then we ask that question. And if it's traffic, we go back to, can we afford to spend more on advertising on this right now? Can
Right.
we think of advertising as an investment, and maybe even have our ACOS go up to a point where that's not profitable for us in the long term, but thinking of that as a boost to get the ranking up and build the organic as a result. If it's a conversion rate issue, it's things like, is it a new product that doesn't have enough reviews yet? Do we not have our first handful of reviews? Okay, how can we solve that? Looking at the listing. The more time we spend on all of those things, because each one of those steps in this process, it can be very time consuming. It
Right.
depends on, the importance of that product in the line, what its forecast is. Um, but we'll generally do what we call like boost campaigns on that product. Then, maybe we'll enhance its listing for conversion. We'll do like a 2 week sale of some sort, whether that be a deal or a coupon or just a price change, and increased ads for it, and then kind of wait and see, okay, what did we get a halo effect off of that? What's the long-term effect after that? But really, if you do a series of those and the product's just still not moving, it's not getting ranking, it's not converting, then that's when you know, and that's when we kind of reset and say, okay, that's now a liquidation product.
So you guys have also seeked or been seeking to grow your business through potential acquisitions or looking at not just building brands, but possibly acquiring brands. What have you learned while looking at other brands in the market? What makes, I don't know, maybe a lot of people want to know, like, what makes them more attractive to buy? But maybe even more so, like, what makes somebody more, like, are there any patterns you're seeing that are saying, like, I see these patterns and these people have more successful businesses than these patterns and less successful businesses?
Yeah. One of the things that we've been kind of noticing as a trend as we're looking at businesses that are attractive, particularly some Amazon businesses, is the ones who have a sustained history of just steady growth. Like maybe they have 5 years of, their first year, and then they grew 20%, and then they grew 30%. Those are really attractive because they're not like some brand that like came out and then had like 200 500% growth and then kind of petered off and it was not profitable growth. The brands that have a healthy bottom line are the ones that seem to have this kind of slow, steady, consistent growth, and really kept things simple within their Amazon business in terms of they got back to those basics. They got back to that question: traffic, conversion, and a great product. Like those are the three things that you need to bring it all together. That's not necessarily simple. It's simple in the sense that like they didn't go off and chase bright shiny objects or try crazy super URL ranking, YouTube video
Right.
tactics, things like that. It's not simple. It's a simple game plan for like a steady, healthy business.
Right. It's, I mean, I think when we sat down and discussed it, we said, I think we called it tried and true, right?
Hmm.
When you follow kind of the tried and true path and you can demonstrate the growth over a period of time, it's a more valuable business because it was built with a strong foundation and a good backing, versus trying to, think that you can get there quickly today by jumping, several layers that you would typically have to go through. And it's not to say that jumping those layers don't work. I'm not going to try to claim that jumping the layers don't work, but typically what you see when you see a company that jumped through those layers is that it's not sustained growth. Like you were
Hmm.
saying,
Yeah.
they're getting some type of temporary boost. Um, and then things tend to fall off.
Exactly. Yeah, there are a lot of tactics out there that do definitely work to jump you up in the rankings. But yeah, you can quickly fall off if your listing doesn't have the history needed to stay there.
Great. Well, thank you, Liz, for coming on and sharing some of these insights with us. If you need a gift for your loved ones, we'll do a little promo and say, don't forget about Vermont Teddy Bear. My kids all have them. I'm still amazed, like, that I bring teddy bears home and my kids still go crazy for them. And
Yeah, we
obviously, you
love
guys are
hearing that.
you're a great company, and you guys do a lot for the community and a lot for, um, e-commerce in general. And I think that I've always learned a lot from you guys. So thanks for sharing with everybody.
Sure, thank you. We love connecting with Seller Labs.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks.